on this episode of Edge of the Web.
So because we're paying a premium for LinkedIn traffic, if you're paying $6 to $9 per click to get traffic to your website, and they're not going to be traffic who's going to be clicking on ads saying, I want to talk to a sales rep. They're going to traditionally be a little bit higher up in the sales process. So because of that, the clicks cost a little bit more and they're going to take longer to nurture. So it basically means you've got to have a large enough deal size. They've got to pay you enough when you close them that it was worth it.
Your weekly digital marketing trends with industry trend-setting guests. You're listening and watching Edge of the Web. Winners of Best Podcast from the Content Marketing Institute for 2017. Hear and see more at edgeofthewebradio.com. Now, alongside Tom Broadbeck, here's your host, Aaron Sparks.
Well, welcome back to Edge of the Web. Hey, thanks to all of our live viewers on Facebook as well as Periscope. We really appreciate everybody joining us in our conversations, and feel free to jump in and ask questions as we talk to our guest on a regular basis here at Edge of the Web Radio. We're broadcasting from Edge Media Studios located in downtown Indianapolis. Every week we're bringing you the latest trends in digital marketing as well as marketing influencers from around the planet. We're always blessed to be able to have some great talent and gives us some operational juice here to be able to learn from these practitioners of digital marketing, and it really does help us power our game here. The show's actually provided by Site Strategics, our title sponsor, your digital marketing pioneer specializing in the agile marketing methodology and execution. So if you're interested in what we do at Site Strategics, just go over to sitestrategics.com. That's SITE strategics.com, or you can search Agile Marketing Method. You can find us out there as well. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks. I'm the CEO of Site Strategics as well as Edge Media Studios. In the production booth, we actually have Thomas Broadbeck, our Director of Digital Media. How you doing, sir?
Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing?
Very good. Nice to see you, sir. I love the shirt.
Thank you.
Yep.
Salmon?
Is that salmon?
I don't know.
We'll go tangerine as opposed to salmon.
I've never been complimented on this shirt. My wife always comments to the collar, how she hates the collar, so I wear it for that reason.
Oh, wow. Way to snub her, man.
I know. That's what marriage is all about, right?
Picking your battles and making sure that you can know it.
It's sticking to it.
Sticking to it. Absolutely. Let's ask our guest if he does the same thing. Aj Wilcox, he's the founder of B2Linked.com. AJ, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great today. How about you?
Very good, very good. I didn't mean to assume, but do you have a wife in the space there?
I do, yes. I'm actually working out of my home. I've got a wife and 4 kids.
Oh, cool.
2 of them are at school. The other 2 are home, and we might hear screaming outside the door. So I'll try to keep that to a minimum.
No problem. So what do you pick to bug your wife on a consistent basis?
Also the colors. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I'll have to think. I mean, there's definitely some jabs going on. I just gotta.
Well, as we go through the show, I'll be checking back in with you to see if you remember any of the jabs here.
I've also got this one shirt where it got caught on the door handle and it ripped a little small hole in it. And she tells me to throw it away, but I never do, and I wear it all the time.
No.
Out in public.
Ooh.
I know.
It's one thing in house. Oh my gosh.
It's a comfy shirt.
And that's what matters.
That's right. You can't tell unless you're looking at my butt.
And by that, and why are you looking at my butt?
Exactly.
Wow. See, that ain't right. You should be free to wear the comfy shirts. There are things that men need, and comfy shirts is one of them, right?
That's right.
Well, AJ, how do you have a comfy shirt on?
It's pretty good. It's like a sports golf shirt.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all right. It's a lot less stuffy than like a button-up type thing. I'm sure.
Right. So I think we're all comfy. I got a nice loose fitting shirt over here. I think we're all comfy. Let's kind of go through the latest digital marketing news. How about that?
I was very excited to start my reportings.
This week's trending topics.
All right, so if you're new to Edge of the Web, we are always leading with news stories or from around the digital marketing space as well as tech to make sure that we're bringing you up-to-date news and regularly diving into some great articles out there. So this session, hey, we got Roger Monti, who's bringing us some information from Search Engine Journal. Google Chrome issues final warnings on HTTPS. So if you don't know what that means to the search engine side of things, here's the deal, is that HTTPS has been a factor that Google wants to see every site embrace. They want to see secure sessions for their consumers who are the Google searchers. So, Tom, what's this article give us from a bit of a final warning perspective?
Sure. So starting in October 2018, they're going to be highlighting websites that are not secure on the form fill. So currently, Google's displaying a green icon to indicate that a website is secure. And many sites are now secure, it says, and they will begin to flag insecure sites with a prominent red warning. So I'll scroll down here, and it kind of shows there's, I think it's a GIF, maybe not. So it shows, here's what it looks like now. So it will look like September 2018. They're also going to remove the green verification. So it won't be green as well. So that's kind of what it's showing here. So that green secure. There's the not secure. So if you're on a fill out, if you have a contact form on your website or a login field, and that red not secure will appear once somebody starts typing into the login field or starts filling out the form field.
Well, I got a question for you. I mean, if you're pointing out insecure sites, won't they be even more insecure by them pointing out the insecure sites? No, you get it?
I get the dad joke. Yeah. But is it something that if you don't have HTTPS, it's something you really definitely you definitely need to look at getting. So most of them isn't like WP Engine has a free one, right? Yep.
And I mean, the only cleanup that you have to do is make sure that you've got you don't have absolute links to scripts external or internal, that you have relative paths or everything, and you lock that puppy down. It's valuable. Not only from being compliant to Google, because they want their customers submitting information on secure forms, but it's an SEO play. Now, albeit, is it a big one? There's thoughts out there that it can even give you a 10% bump.
Still, it's a way to lock down your website.
Right.
I don't remember which episode it was, but it was a little bit ago, and when we were first talking about the importance of an HTTPS secure certificate, and the person we were interviewing said he was at a hotel and he pulled up a website that wasn't secure, and a hotel ad inserted as a pop-up on the non-secure website. So if you had that secure certificate, the ad wouldn't have appeared on that website. So I mean, it's stuff like that you can't control. Somebody who could be annoyed with your website if they're at a hotel looking for a place to eat here locally in Indianapolis or any other location, and they think, they have pop-up ads on their website. Why do I want to go there? So it could be multiple of reasons to get a secure certificate.
Absolutely, and it certainly protects the session, and that's a big plus in the site's column. AJ, thoughts about secure or insecure?
Yeah, so I think, this is obviously a change that Google's been rolling forward with. So I would say don't just go out and try to make sure that only the pages that have forms on them are secure.
Absolutely.
It's just to roll out the form or the SSL certificate to the entire site. So yeah, just roll it out all entirely. Don't worry about
the site's column. AJ, thoughts about? Yeah, you're absolutely right. So with that, let's keep on going down the Google path here. Roger Monti over at Search Engine Journal again. This is a Roger Monti.
Yeah, I think all of them are Roger Monti.
He's killing it. He's killing it. So again, from Search Engine Journal, Google's new algorithm creates original articles from your content. So check this stuff out. Google has published research on a new algorithm that can actually take yours and your competitors' web pages and generate coherent articles. By creating original content, Google's new algorithm can actually answer a user's question without having to send them to another web page. Hold on. Okay, so it's pulling content from your own site as well as other sites, and again, not letting you go click through to the target website. It's literal. It's digesting your information and making a coherent, cogent article, keeping that consumer away from the website, not intentionally, but if it's answering the information for the consumer, why even click on the website?
I just think it's funny is how many websites were penalized for spinning articles in the same manner, and Google's going to do it.
That's funny. Google's new algorithm works by summarizing web content using an algorithm that extracts your content. No problem there whatsoever, huh? Then tosses out the the irrelevant parts. This is similar to the algorithm used to generate featured snippets as well as meta content and any other display. I mean, they've been doing it for a while. They're just now going gangbusters and deciding to create extractive summaries because they can extract content from web pages. Extractive summaries are like a reduction of the original text to be most imported and for the most important sentences. So do we have a schema that we can actually optimize towards to get that extract, or are they doing it themselves? Sorry, I'm getting a little bit worked up about this one. AJ, what do you think?
Yeah, so Thomas, you stole my joke.
Wait. Let me extract what you're about to say, because I'm sure Google could actually do a much better job than what you're about to say.
Yes, Google, take it away for me, please. Tell me what I was going to say. I was listening to the Acquavilla DeFazio episode here not too long ago where Google was showing that they had started this technology. This seems like the next logical step for it. And Roger calls out in the article that this is specifically for Google Voice. When you have one result that's going to be shared and 10 results that essentially add to the topic.
Yep.
They need to condense it into one, and this seems like a pretty logical explanation, although I would sure hate it if parts of my site were being taken for Google's benefit, and then they never show up in my analytics.
Nope, absolutely. So maybe we can just get some points of extraction. That can be another highlight from Google, is that we like this so much that we took the site content and put it on our own index, but we'll give you a nice thumbs up. How about that? Yeah.
Hello.
All right, Roger. Now you're pissing me off. Roger Monte's article from Search Engine Journal as well. Google's "Don't Be Evil" no longer prefaces the code of content. I heard this in a news article here a little while ago. Tom, tell me about this. If you, what does "Do No Evil" or "Don't Be Evil"? I should say. What's that mantra all about from Google?
So, as I understand it, that's always been was it Larry Page and well, I don't know why I'm forgetting.
Sergey.
And that's been their mantra for their code of conduct. And so I think there's here it says it was the top of the Google's code of conduct page, and that's now been removed.
So
free to be evil.
Yeah, exactly. Go forth and conquer. Well, I mean, all things being equal, there are a lot of arguments about the fact that certain types of groups and information aren't making its way to search engine results nearly as much as others, and it's got to it's got to be reckoned with one way, shape, or form. So maybe there's some internal checks and balances that they decided just to clean that one off the list, huh?
Yeah. So here he kind of shows what's removed. It says, "Don't be evil." Googlers generally apply those words to how we serve our users, but "don't be evil" is much more than that. Yes, it's about providing users unbiased access to information. So this is how it starts now. It says the Google Code of Conduct is one of the ways we put Google's values into practice. It's built around the recognition. I don't see respect our users for the opportunity and for each other as a foundational to our success and something we need to support every day.
So you don't have to
Ethical,
say it; you just have
words,
to do it.
Yes, highest possible standards of ethical business conduct, etc.
Got it. All right. So, AJ, what do you think?
I mean, they don't have to say it as long as they just do it.
But at least, I mean, now they don't have to obey their own commandments, right?
I mean, they got this far with the commandment.
Absolutely.
How far are they going to get without it?
All right, I'll just hang it up there because that's a whole nother rabbit trail to go down. I'll tell you what. Also, is not doing evil ever is our newsletter. If you actually sign up for our newsletter right at the header of edgeofthewebradio.com or text to the number 22828, the word Edge Talk, you can sign up right there, and you will not incur any evilness. In fact, there's an ongoing treasure trove of goodness coming out of our email campaigns. Your email will never be used except for delivering nuggets of digital gold regarding the show, who we interview, the synopsis, maybe an extract or two of information about what we've talked about, and the news articles, as well as who we're going to be talking to, and every once in a while a pro tip to be able to help you on your digital marketing way. And no electrons are harmed in the publishing of these articles. So go over, sign up, and join our newsletter, and certainly give us a contribution because we want to hear from our audience on a regular basis. How about that, Tom?
It sounds like a plan.
It does sound like a plan. All right, so follow all the featured trending topics over at edgeofthewebradio.com. Now let's deep dive with this week's featured guest.
Now it's time for Edge of the Web featured interview with Aj Wilcox, founder of B2Linked.com.
Okay, AJ, the deep voice guy has introduced you.
That's me.
Aj Wilcox, you got a great name. You know that?
Well, thanks. I started out as Andrew Wilcox, and in the 5th grade, I decided to shorten it to AJ and never looked back.
Excellent. I would highly agree with that. I mean, that I was watching the reboot of Magnum PI. Have you seen the commercials for that?
I have, yeah.
I have not, no.
And one of his buddies, was that the CT, the guy that's CT, who's flying in the helicopter. Darn it!
I don't know.
Oh, never mind. Boy, I was almost there, man. Anyway, another cool initial name. That's what the connection is. I'm trying to. Somebody search for this and help me out here.
I'm looking it up.
All right, so let's introduce our listeners to AJ. AJ has been actually in the online marketing world since 2007 and has managed hundreds of AdWords campaigns. Then, in 2011, he was introduced to advertising on LinkedIn. Back then, they actually had advertising on LinkedIn?
Yep, ever since 2007.
That's amazing. And then he founded B2Linked in 2014. AJ is now a LinkedIn certified ads partner and manager of an official LinkedIn ads group forum. So ads in LinkedIn have been, we waited for a long time, and on top of the platform needed to mature to be very valuable in the consumer's eyes, or at least the B2B consumers. But now we have ads. Now these ads are effective. AJ, give us your history of how you've gotten to be where you are.
Yeah, so I first started out, I worked in a lot of agencies and also in-house gigs. Really enjoyed all, especially SEO, but all types of digital marketing. And I ended up really falling in love with LinkedIn ads about 6 years ago when I went to a B2B company. They were highly funded. It was a tech startup with VC money. And they essentially said, here, go test out LinkedIn ads. And I was like, okay, I've never heard of them. They must suck. And about 2 weeks later, one of my sales guys came to me and said, AJ, we don't know what you're doing over here, but we love your leads. Keep it up. So I went and logged into Salesforce, and I'm looking at all these leads that this particular rep was dispositioning, and all of them at this point were sourced from LinkedIn, even though I was managing multiple other channels. So I went, okay, there's something to this. And I kept investing, kept paying attention. And then about 3.5 years ago, I actually got laid off from that company. And so I went, wow, what better time to start something? So I went off and started B2Linked, and we're an ad agency that LinkedIn ads is all we do.
Very cool. And that's really cool to be able to see that level of specialty, because you see so many different digital marketing firms, that go wide and light sometimes in all the different executions to be able, and we're interviewing more and more people that are very specialized in unique areas, and I think that's honestly the way to go, as opposed to try to make yourself a server of all tactics and execution. So give us a picture of not so much how LinkedIn works, but more importantly, the rise of ads and the value that these actually now represent to companies.
So LinkedIn started out advertising in 2007, and they had one ad unit that was text ads. They looked a lot like Google AdWords ads, but with a little 50 by 50 pixel image, which obviously isn't much. No one paid attention to them. They started them all out at a floor of $2 per click. So even from the very beginning, they've been pretty expensive compared to other ad products, and no one really paid attention. Then in 2013, they launched their second ad unit called Sponsored Content. This one actually appears in your feed, like I'm sure we're all very used to on Facebook.
Yep.
And then about 2 years ago, they gave us our third maybe not the final ad unit, but our third ad unit called Sponsored InMail, and that's where you can deliver an ad message directly into someone's inbox.
Yep, and we've seen a few of those come through, and they are sometimes hitting the mark, sometimes not. But I think the growth of ads, and especially the analytics of these ads, have really matured over time as well, right?
Yeah, and what's so exciting right now is, I guess I should say, 6 or 7 years ago when I started investing in LinkedIn ads, there just was nothing. I mean, it was just a bare bones product. Everything was kind of broken. And then they would tell me, hey, a new feature's coming out. And then I would wait for 2 years before I finally saw that feature. Then just in the last year, they've released 6 or 7 very large products. So the speed at which they're releasing things makes me really excited to be in the space I'm in.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, if you wouldn't mind indulging me, I need to kind of reference our title sponsor here real quick, and then we'll jump back to your interview. Site Strategics is actually really proud to be the sponsor of Edge of the Web Radio. I wanted to share a great discount to our listeners here. We provide digital marketing strategies to our clients on a regular basis, and it goes without saying that a lot of our clients regularly ask, what are the return on investment of different digital strategies? So we'd like to discover would you like to discover marketing ROI for your own organization? Why not have a second opinion to check out how your actual investment is paying off? So we're actually offering a 30% discount on our digital marketing ROI report. You can actually learn your digital strengths, weaknesses, and threats. The report delivers a comprehensive image of your existing performance in the areas of SEO, content, social media, SEM, while allowing the Site Strategics production team to get full insight into the areas of opportunity and growth. So if you want to jump in and be able to find out what we can do for you and how we can see your ROI and digital marketing success, jump over to the URL edgeofthewebradio.com/ROI to be able to jump in there and just provide us your information. There's no obligation, but it gets the ball rolling in conversation so we can see whether this is a good fit for you. That's edgeofthewebradio.com/ROI. All right. Yeah, apologies. AJ, you had to jump in there and pay the bills, right?
That's right. No shame in that.
No shame. Well, so where does a company start with LinkedIn ads, or should they even start with LinkedIn ads to begin with?
Yeah, so I would say of the 3 ad units that I just shared with you,
Yep.
The one that you should definitely start out with, this is what I recommend to like 95% of advertisers, is start with that sponsored content. You're going to pay somewhere between about $6 and $9 per click, so it's definitely not cheap. And you do need to approach it with some sort of gated content. So you'll want to make sure you have a free checklist or an ebook or cheat sheet or white paper webinar, that kind of thing. But that's by far the best place to start.
So where do people actually go to start an ad campaign inside of LinkedIn?
So if you go to linkedin.com/ads, that's the fastest way I've found to get there. But you can also navigate to the menu in the upper right-hand corner by your picture and go down to business, and I think advertise is one of them.
Yep.
If you like going the long way.
Yep. Now, is there a tool to actually manage that we can actually download and manage LinkedIn as like Google AdWords management tool?
Oh, I wish. There is a product called AdStage.io. So if you're a really, if you want a power tool, you want to approach LinkedIn ads in a really strong way, you probably want to use AdStage. They've got all of the bulk tools, that sort of AdWords editor functionality. Other than that, you pretty much just manage from right inside the interface.
Okay. All right. So I've run a few ads in there, and it was interesting in a certain respect, because what you could do inside of LinkedIn ads, it has a unique channel, and that's reaching influencers, and you can do somewhat the same thing inside of Twitter, but you're getting titles of companies, of individuals, as opposed to some Facebook titles that really are innocuous. I mean, LinkedIn's built on your current role at a current company, and the demographic information is really dialed in, right? Can you expand upon that?
Yeah, so I think one of the big challenges with anything you do with B2B for Facebook, they used to have job titles. They've since taken them away.
Right.
But even when we had those, we could put in those job titles, and I would guess probably fewer than 5% of people are actually putting their professional information in their Facebook profile.
Right.
Whereas LinkedIn has had this from the second you create a profile, they have everything professional about you.
Right.
So on Facebook, you've got to work really hard to crank up the dial and try to get any sort of reach with B2B. But with LinkedIn, it's, hey, do you want to reach CEOs in the Fortune 500? Then yeah, you've got access to probably 98% of them right off the bat. And
the ecosystem inside of LinkedIn is self-correcting. Is that a title, even if it isn't erroneous inside of Facebook, right? That title, people don't come back around to it. But for LinkedIn, if you're changing jobs, right, you're announcing to your professional environment that, okay, I have this role over here. So it behooves the participants in LinkedIn to keep as accurate as possible the LinkedIn profile, right? Yep, I tell people that LinkedIn is the second person after my wife to know when I make a career change, which is very unlike if you go and buy a list, you're going to get feedback from your sales team like, hey, 20% of these emails bounced and 30% of these people don't work there anymore. It's you don't get that on LinkedIn. No, you don't. No, it's a very, and I think the bounce back that we had back in, I think, 14, 13, when LinkedIn really kind of reinvented itself, that is, I think, one of the most mature, healthiest social media platforms now for specific type of market. Yeah,
since Microsoft owns LinkedIn now, are we seeing any type of tie-in with Bing ads and LinkedIn?
A little bit. I don't know how much I can share, but specifically from the Bing ad side, Bing has a pilot right now where you can get access to some of LinkedIn's audience targeting, which is pretty exciting. So if you're a big Bing advertiser, definitely ask to see if you can get in on that pilot. But yeah, I think that's the future. But we're talking about two very large companies that move very slowly, and when they combine their resources, they move even more slowly. So I think we'll start to see. We're into this merger acquisition about a year. I think when give us another year, maybe 2 years, and I think we'll probably see a lot of the fruits of Microsoft influence.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, what type of different, you went just through the ad units here very quickly. What kind of different ad types can you buy inside of LinkedIn?
So you have, what we've had forever has been just the static image ads. Right. And you could do what used to be called rich media ads, which is just kind of like a bigger version of the image. They just about 3 weeks ago released native video ads. So very similar to Facebook, where you're going to pay per 3-second view. Right. And we just barely got access to this. I get questions about it quite a bit, like, hey, what kind of video works? How long? Where in the funnel are you using this? And the answer is, it's still the wild, wild west. There's no best practices yet. We don't know.
I got to ask, as all the other platforms have embraced it, what about streaming video?
Oh, I sure hope streaming video is coming. I think LinkedIn has a lot of catching up to do, and they've been doing a brilliant job of it the last, I would say, year. We're seeing pretty rapid accelerations. That seems to be the next most obvious feature that I think we're going to get. Yeah. I just haven't heard anything about it yet.
I think, almost like a TED Talks merge into LinkedIn, having really relevant webinars and really relevant seminars and discussions inside the business community. That could be a boon to participating more inside of LinkedIn.
Yep, I absolutely agree with that. I think it's the perfect platform to have content about how to personally develop yourself and professionally. I think that's the direction they need to be heading.
Yeah, absolutely. Just for our audience, maybe a good portion of our audience stays inside of, from a marketing standpoint, market inside of Facebook ads, right? And we talked a little bit about comparisons of targeting. Can you give us a kind of a not so much a point by point, but can you give some summaries of the contrast as well as comparisons of Facebook ads to LinkedIn ads?
Yeah. So when we're having a client who's running Facebook and we're running LinkedIn at the same time, what we hear repeatedly is the lead quality is higher on LinkedIn. Now, I'll refute this a little bit. It's the same people on both platforms, the same person going to LinkedIn and then flipping over to Facebook. The challenge with Facebook is that with the targeting, we have to be a lot rougher about how we find those people. So we can't go directly by their level of seniority and their job function and, groups that they're members of. We can't quite do that with Facebook, so we have to be a lot rougher. So more like, you have a marketing interest and, kind of approximate it. So a lot of the leads that come in, they just won't be the most relevant people. And so you'll perceive that as being, oh, it's a channel that gives lower lead quality.
Right.
LinkedIn will have higher lead quality just because you are so much more specific about your targeting that you're getting only the people that you actually want to talk to.
But the content of the ad is also much different, is it not? Because this is B2B, right, as opposed to a B2C environment. So you're a bit more stringent on the messaging that you're trying to get across, right? And it's truly a different world into itself. However, I mean, you've got the same people that are in Facebook, so to speak, inside of LinkedIn, but you've got to deliver a very cogent message quickly that is going to be a benefit to them in their professional space, right?
Yeah, and what that means is we've got to get cut right to the point. People are spending less time, I think, on LinkedIn as they're scrolling. So you've got to have a thumb stopper there. You got to give them a reason and tell them like immediately what you expect of them and what they're going to get out of it. They're going to put up with the fluffiness of your words a lot less. We've done lots of tests with being creative and using flowery language and double entendres. It just doesn't work. You just got to cut straight to the point.
No, I'm actually I just over the course of the last couple of months, I've actually been witnessing a really good set of ads that do just that. They get to the point, and you find yourself in the space of, wow, that could really be useful. And I hadn't seen that regularly inside of LinkedIn. So there's a level up that's happening from the creative standpoint to deliver these transactional concepts, right?
Yeah, and LinkedIn, they started out with the best targeting, and they keep iterating on it and giving us new and even better targeting. So for instance, just last year, they caught up with Facebook and they gave us web retargeting and they gave us email targeting, but then they upped the ante and gave us company targeting. So we've always been able to specify an individual company up to 100 that you want to work with, but now you can take a spreadsheet, a CSV of up to 300,000 companies, upload it to LinkedIn. So you can literally say, I only want to show this to the Fortune 500. So LinkedIn, here is a list of the Fortune 500, only show it to them. And it gives marketers a lot more power.
All right. Yeah, unpack that for me a little bit, because that's fantastic. You have to be accurate on your company entries. How do you make sure that you're matching explicitly the company name? I mean, do you have to look up this manually, or does LinkedIn give you an output that you can spin around and use as a targeting tool?
So they give you an output. They will tell you your match rate. The challenge with that is they won't tell you which items didn't match. So for instance, if you had I.B.M. and for IBM, and LinkedIn was like, oh no, we have IBM as IBM with no periods in between, and you didn't match, they wouldn't be able to communicate that to you. And that comes because of the email match algorithm, where they don't want to tell you like, yes, we have record of this email address, so you can spam this person offline now.
Right.
So they're trying to protect it, but I think company name is far enough away from personal identity that they should give us the ability to see match rates based on individual company. Because, for instance, if I'm targeting IBM, I want to make sure that I actually am targeting IBM.
Yeah, I mean, it behooves them to actually give you accuracy, because otherwise the campaign, if you get in there, you're not going to be firing on all cylinders, and you're going to be looking at the delivery as opposed to inaccuracies of company names. So they do give you a matchup. Is that what you're telling me? Where you maybe 80% match? Do they give you the remnants that aren't matching correctly?
So they will tell you you had a 94% match rate on this list, and that's about all you get. Hopefully that changes in the future. But it'll be the same thing with an email list too. They may say you got a 66% match rate, which is fantastic if you're used to Facebook, Twitter, and AdWords match rates.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we need a little bit more there.
Yeah, I mean, if you could just pinpoint the ones that I'm missing, I can go ahead and correct it real quick. Everybody will be happy, right? What's the harm in that?
I'd be happy to fix it.
Well, what? Now, so we have the ability to target companies. We have the ability to target titles. We have the ability to target groups as well. So unpack the group dynamic as it applies to LinkedIn.
Well, so what's so great is when people very first join on to LinkedIn, especially quite a few years ago, groups were really incredible. You'd go in and you'd have really great conversation about professional topics. And so, for instance, if my title just says I'm in digital marketing, but I go and join a group about social media marketing, that's me raising my hand and saying I have a high level of interest in this one specific topic. So that means that if I'm, as an advertiser, if I'm trying to show ads to social media marketers, that's a really strong signal that, if you just tried to do social media marketing manager as a title, you'd miss me. But because I'm in a group about the topic, you can still hit me. So groups can be very powerful targeting. And
that's where, let's face it, there's a lot of skimming that goes on inside of LinkedIn and not nearly as much participation. You give comments every once in a while. I think you have a higher degree of participation inside of Facebook from the news feed.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Groups for a long time on LinkedIn have been plagued by not necessarily spam, but they're kind of a repository where people come in and say, I posted this article, and then they leave and they're hoping to get traffic from it.
Right.
So I'm probably a member of 10 groups, and I found 2 or 3 that have real conversation going on in that I pay attention to, and the rest I just don't go into. But I know LinkedIn's in the process right now of revamping groups, and I hope they make them more like Facebook. I hope they make them more useful because it's really promising. It's really nice to have conversation around a specific professional topic.
Absolutely. And if we could even find a way, if LinkedIn could find a way to give us an understanding of the activity of those groups, and that'd be awesome. I mean, for the sheer fact that you can see, all right, well, again, it serves them. If there's, 2 people that have talked in the entire month into this group, why in the world would LinkedIn want me to deliver an ad there?
Yep, that's right. And I should mention that when you are targeting by groups, you're not actually displaying your ads inside of the groups. You're displaying your ad wherever someone is on LinkedIn, as long as they are a member of that group.
Right.
In the future, it'd be cool if we had that as a placement. Like you can put a placement inside of groups, assuming that people use them. But for right now, I'm pretty happy just hitting the people who are members.
Excellent. So can you give us some realistic expectations of that a company should have when they start out with LinkedIn ads?
Yeah, I would say you want to spend somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 in your first pilot. It doesn't have to be over the course of a month. It could be, you could spend that much in 2 days, or you could spend that over 6 months. But you want to gather that much data. And the reason why is if you spend much less than that, the data is going to be so small, it probably won't make a dent. And I've noticed a lot of uppers in companies saying, hey, I remember we started this initiative with LinkedIn ads, but we haven't seen a whole lot from it. It must not be working. And then they'll shut it down. But when you spend somewhere between 3 and 5K, it's usually in that area that your conversion rates between 2 offers become statistically significant to a 95% interval. So it's a great way to plan on gathering that much data, then do your analysis and see if it's working. If it's showing some promise, great, you can scale, and if not, starve it and cut it off.
So you do have some really good tools to be able to do testing against different campaigns, right?
Yeah, and we've built our own proprietary database because obviously LinkedIn ads is all we do. So we've got some fun stuff. But if you're just using LinkedIn's raw tools, you can build out your campaigns by targeting. You can structure them however you'd like, and then of course you're going to bring in your conversion data from your CRM if you're gathering that and match it up. And usually that's done with a pivot table in Excel, but some people have gotten a little bit more precise.
Do you see how he just laid it out there, didn't he? He's got the mojo. He's got the LinkedIn ad mojo.
Yeah, he does.
So
if I could do the snaps, I would.
Wow, yeah, I hadn't seen that on the show before.
And you won't see it from a white person ever again.
It's the last.
All right, so lay on us some of the mistakes that people make in their first campaign.
I think from a nomenclature standpoint, I think not necessarily a mistake, but it creates inefficiencies in the future. I came from AdWords, and so I was really big on naming of ad groups and campaigns and this nomenclature and organization. And then I went into social, and I noticed there's all the people who came from search followed really strict nomenclature and account organization.
Yep.
But a whole lot of people in paid social came from the organic social side. So they would come in and name their campaigns things like White Paper 1 or 2017 webinar. And what happens is if you invest money into a campaign, into this audience, and you name it after an asset. What happens is after you retire that asset, after you've saturated that audience, that audience is now dead. You can't reuse it. And so it ends up just cluttering the account. And so they'll have 20 or 30 different campaigns that are just in the account and sitting there idle. And LinkedIn, they have this metric that, very similar to quality score on AdWords or relevance score on Facebook.
Right.
They have relevancy score. And so if you're spending in a campaign and building history, if you can keep using that campaign, you have a much stronger relevancy score to start out with. So every new ad you launch, you have lower CPCs starting out and higher trust. So what that means is if you can create a campaign and name it after an audience, let's say this is CMOs of companies with more than 50 people in them, you can launch your ad creative into that bucket. As soon as that ad creative is burnt, go ahead and pause it and then just launch your new ads to that same audience.
And it has in different content, different tactics. But you're really advertising and specializing towards that messaging of that group as opposed to trying out different groups with the same message, right?
Exactly. Yep. And it's going to result in lower cost per click and a lot easier to look down through your account and see who I'm talking to rather than the asset I was serving at one point in time.
Because that's really the difference, isn't it? Is that it's about the messaging and the creative towards that messaging, but it has to do with maturing your delivery to that audience to their best interest in consumption, right?
Yep.
Huh.
Exactly.
That is truly a different space as opposed to other more creative weighted campaigns. No, that's cool. That's cool. I get that. So, any other mistakes that people will trip over? That, and again, I mean, this is your industry, so you don't have to share that much. I mean, but at the same time, this is your perfect opportunity to scare the bejesus out of somebody, so they could actually hire you.
Well, I'll tell you, the things that I'm sharing aren't really mistakes. I can definitely share some mistakes, but I think what I want to share is that when you're advertising on LinkedIn, if you're paying $6 to $9 per click, that's pretty expensive. And that means that if you're going at it alone and you make a mistake, that mistake's going to be expensive. So I do recommend, if you're like me and you like going at it alone, I've got a cool offer I'll give you here at the end of the podcast. Cool. So you can kind of get a leg up. But otherwise, I'd recommend hire an agency like us who specializes in LinkedIn ads for your first few months, get it under control, and then kind of say, we'll take it from here, is a pretty cheap way of making sure you're off on the right foot. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see is that when someone launches a campaign, they'll say, oh, hey, we're going after, let's say, all marketing decision makers. So let's create a campaign that is marketing job function with manager, director, VP, and C-level seniority all together, because that's who we're going after. If instead, what you do is you actually break that up into 4 separate audiences, a marketing manager, director, VP, and C-level. Now you actually have a comparison, and you can see things like, oh, does it cost more to reach a CMO and they're harder to get on the phone? So their cost per qualified lead goes up. Right. Maybe we don't need to bid as high there versus managers. Oh, they're clicking all day long and they're easy to get a hold of. You can get those kind of learnings. Yep. Break them up.
Well, on top of that, that really follows into the buyer's journey concept, is that those directors have to report to people, and you can empower them with certain type of content that helps them do their job better, as opposed to the C-level that they're not interested in demonstrating to anybody else, except that, hey, this is what's really plaguing us. We need to figure this thing out. So there's a different type of messaging based on the context that they're in and who they got to report to, right?
You're right. And if you don't break up those audiences, you can't customize your message between each group. So yeah, it definitely makes sense.
Segmentation, people. Segmentation. Don't put all your eggs or your C-levels into one basket. Come on. All right. So we've covered mistakes. We've covered budget. We've covered the different type of ad units that are out there. Where do you see LinkedIn ads going in the future?
So in the future, I would sure hope that we have a Bing ads integration. Yep. Because one of the big challenges we have with any kind of social advertising is, we're advertising to people based off of who they are and their propensity to be able to afford us, but not by what they're looking for right now. So the intent isn't high, but the quality of the audience is super high. Whereas on intent search, like Bing ads, you have what people are looking for right now, but no clue about who they are and if they can even afford you. So when you start to combine those two data sets, things start to look really interesting. That's where I hope we're going in the future. And then, of course, I hope we get even more targeting. I hope we get access to more inventory. This is my personal Disneyland when they make improvements to the platform. So I just want to see more of that.
Yeah. So those improvements, I hate to keep on comparing it to Facebook, but that's the biggest. That's the next best type of comparison. They've been overhauling. Facebook has their Power Editor, and there's a lot of unique changes. How often is LinkedIn editing and improving the ad delivery dashboard?
Well, when I log into Facebook, every time I log in, there's something different, and I've got to go hunt for. Okay, so where did
they put this thing? Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. LinkedIn, usually every quarter, we'll get one or two things that change significantly. And we're official LinkedIn partners. So we are either in on the beta or we know about these things coming out beforehand, which is nice. But every so often you'll just see something change, but it won't be nearly as drastic as we're used to with Facebook.
Well, that's good, and you're certainly seeing effective ad use and ad delivery, and it's very narrowly focused. So that in its own right improves conversions across the board. Are there companies that should not jump into Facebook or LinkedIn ads?
Ooh, great question. So I'll kind of flip this around on you. I'll tell you who makes a good customer for LinkedIn. Yeah. And that way, if you don't find your business being defined in this bucket, then it might be best to avoid. So number one, it works with business-to-business lead gen of, it doesn't matter whether it's products or services, just so long as you have a really high lifetime value. And so I say, if you have a lifetime value or a deal size of $15,000 or more, then LinkedIn ads works 100% of the time. If it's much less than that, there are people who make it work with smaller deal sizes, but it's going to take some optimization. It's going to take some learning. So we'll call it 15K or higher. The next that works really well is in white collar recruiting. So if let's say you're trying to hire a marketing manager, for instance, if you're showing your ads only to people who have the current title of marketing manager in your area, they're going to create some really good applicants. And then finally, in higher education, if you're recruiting for an MBA or a PhD program, the targeting in LinkedIn around education is unparalleled. And so you can show ads saying, come join our MBA program, or our executive MBA tends to work really well.
So education to a particular professional level of service, right? You're also talking about individual recruiting techniques, and that's going to be effective. Just reiterating what you're talking about. The B2B side of things and the lifetime value, I want you to unpack that a little bit more for our audience to understand, to be able to understand what you mean by that lifetime value that they represent.
Sure. So because we're paying a premium for LinkedIn traffic, if you're paying $6 to $9 per click to get traffic to your website, and they're not going to be traffic who's going to be clicking on ads saying, I want to talk to a sales rep, they're going to traditionally be a little bit higher up in the sales process. So because of that, the clicks cost a little bit more, and they're going to take longer to nurture. So it basically means you've got to have a large enough deal size. They've got to pay you enough when you close them that it was worth it to pay up front for all that traffic.
Got it.
So I'll say, we have clients who are in SaaS software, and maybe they charge, $1,200 per month for a license of their software. So that means they've got to stick around for about a year in order to get their payback at the 15K level. And for some, that's worth it. And some say, that's too long to expect a return, and they can't use LinkedIn ads. So just make sure that you're going to get paid at an interval that you're willing to wait for.
I get it. And that's a good additional supplemental bit of information for our clients, because they could, or not for our clients, for our audience. Yes, our audience could all be our clients, couldn't they? No, but you really need to know what you're getting into whenever you're spending that much money, right? These are not dollar clicks. These are not 25-cent clicks. These are some higher end clicks, and you've got to have that margin to be able to not only pay for the ad, but it has to be substantial business value to get into that space.
That's right. And you got to be ready to nurture those leads after you're done too. Because if they've downloaded a white paper or they've joined a webinar, they're probably not going to buy from you tomorrow. So having the systems in place to be able to nurture those leads and stay in contact and stay top of mind for them, so that when they are ready, you're the first one they think of. Absolutely.
Well, all right. Tongue in cheek. Is there anything you want to add about LinkedIn ads?
Heyo.
Heyo.
So I would say, oh man, I know this is live, so I can't think too hard. Let me do this. Yep. One of the tactics, or I'll call it a strategy. One of the strategies that we see working really well on Facebook ads is show very top of funnel content. Like, here, read our blog post, check out this infographic, and very low aggression, very low friction. The problem, and that works really well. And then you use retargeting to work them down and start giving them offers. With LinkedIn, we have to kind of jump a little bit further down the funnel, because it doesn't make sense to pay $6 to $9 per click to get someone to start reading your blog post and then bounce. So we've got to jump them right to an offer. So as let's say you're going into LinkedIn ads and you've had success on Facebook, just realize your strategy has to shift more towards the middle of the funnel rather than the top.
There you go. That's awesome. That's awesome. So they got to be careful, but they also have to understand that content is going to meet the needs. Again, that buyer's journey at a consideration level as opposed to awareness level, because you're talking to an audience that's a heck of a lot more aware of the issues that they're looking for, right?
Yep, and the content is by far the most important part. What I've found is if you have a piece of content that is, really solving a pain point for them or satisfying a major curiosity, someone is willing to give their email address for that. If you have a piece of content that doesn't appear to be solving a problem for them or just looks like fluff, they won't. Mm-hmm. And so you may have created a really good white paper or a really good webinar, but if you can't get someone's interest by the title, you're going to have a really high cost per lead on it. So make sure you put a lot of focus into the content itself, because the ad, I mean, you can swap images, you can swap headlines and stuff all day long, get little 5 to 15% performance increases either direction. But your offer can make, can swing, 2 to 3x in conversion rates.
Oh,
so
wow.
The offer is super important.
Well, think through the offer segment and make sure that you're remarketing to these and nurturing those campaigns. And that's by and large what's necessary for every digital marketing campaign. But this stuff is very important. If you're not doing these tactics, probably shouldn't be in the LinkedIn ad game, to be honest.
Agreed. Yeah, wait till your marketing has matured a little bit and then be ready to drop
snap. He just threw that down as well. Last question is about attribution. And this is a little bit sideways on this. I want to. We certainly have conversion pixels inside of Facebook, and we can segment. We can also UTM code and everything. You can do the exact same things inside of LinkedIn. Are there any other attribution plays that we should know about inside of LinkedIn? Are there any additional remarketing tools that are available for LinkedIn ads? Because we really want to get into the entire digital ecosystem, right?
Yeah, so you can obviously use LinkedIn's retargeting campaigns, but for my money, what I do is I use LinkedIn's premium targeting to get the right people to my website, and then I want to use Facebook and AdWords retargeting to nurture that traffic. Mm-hmm. The reason why is because those are the platforms people spend the most time on. Yep. If you get access to the GDN, you're going to be showing ads all the way across the web. And if you're on Facebook, you have all of Facebook and Instagram. And so you're really, for a very low cost per click and with really good tracking technology, you've got access to stick in front of people.
Yeah, it's a handoff, and you're making sure that you've got the web content aspect of things. You just can't just remarket inside of LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, you can use LinkedIn's retargeting, but it's going to be $4 a click still, right. Not that much of a discount, and people just don't spend a lot of time on LinkedIn like they do the other platforms. So sure, go ahead and use LinkedIn's retargeting, but you're going to be more successful, I think, adding Facebook and Google to it.
Very good, very good. Well, that's a great sage point of advice. AJ, we certainly appreciate your expertise and focus on one particular area of digital marketing delivery, and we talked about this. I think either before or right at the beginning of the conversation, is that being able to talk with individuals and companies that are specializing in these type of tactics, and we certainly see a growth of individuals and companies that are doing that and doing it very, very well. I mean, nobody has to be the end all for everybody, right?
That's right. I mean, I have to say, I worked for the first 5 years of my career to be known as an SEO guy, and boy, was that hard to stand out when Rand was on every stage around the country.
Right.
But as soon as I basically said I'm specializing in LinkedIn ads, I had access to stages, I had access to podcasts.
Yep.
So I'm a big fan of specialization because all of us can be the best in the world at something as long as we niche down far enough.
I love it. Very good. You don't have to be it for everybody and all the things. Pick your pony, right? And write it. So what bugs you about your industry right now?
I think social is so much around Facebook ads right now, which is fantastic. I mean, I really do feel like Facebook ads is a fantastic product. Mm-hmm. What I'm having a challenge with is the sheer number of people I talk to who are Facebook ads experts. And when you dig deeper, you find out that they had a lot of success using video ads or retargeting or third-party data sources. They found one thing in there that turned out to be really successful, and they milked it. And they're kind of a one-trick pony. So I kind of have to work to find the people who really know a platform inside and out and have worked in a lot of different areas. So I think that's my bug is I've just got to dig a little bit deeper to find professionals when there's lots of thought leaders out there, but not a whole lot of thought leadership happening.
Ooh.
Sorry, I stole that from a different podcast. I listened to it. Yeah.
Well, what excites you, conversely, about your industry right now?
I love the speed at which it changes. I told you that I've waited for 2+ years for LinkedIn to roll out an update to their platform, and now we're seeing them routinely. Every month, every 2 months, I'll see something happening, and this happens across the entire industry. But for me, it's really exciting to see it rolling into LinkedIn and really picking up steam.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. We're seeing that on a regular basis, and you got to be agile. You got to be adept to these changes. But it is great to be able to start seeing the behavior of marketers be able to meet the speed of technology changes now.
Yep, you can't rest.
No, you can't. You can't. All right, I got to ask you about this. Go-karts and races all over the neighborhood. What's going on here with you, AJ?
So my story is I'm just a giant man-child that never grew up. And as a kid, all I ever wanted was a go-kart because I wanted to be able to drive. I've always loved cars. And so here about, 5 or 6 years ago, I was a grown man and said, I know I have a car, but I still want a go-kart. So I went and bought a racing go-kart, and now I own several of them. So if you're ever in Lehigh, Utah, and you see a chubby ginger flying around the streets at high speed, that's totally me.
That's funny.
And here in Central Indiana, it's race weekend. It's the Indy 500s this weekend, and so the town goes pretty crazy for the race weekend. So you're speaking to a lot of Central Indiana folks. Who speaking to their hearts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I won't be hitting those kind of speeds, but I'll hit a good 60.
There's a lot of good go-kart places around here for that reason because of the Indy 500 stuff.
Absolutely. But you'd love to see a go-kart on the 500 Speedway, wouldn't you?
Wouldn't be fun to watch. It'd be fun to be in one. There,
how fast do those go?
So I have one that goes 45. That's one of my go-karts. I have another one that'll do about 120.
Whoa!
And I
That's
think
not a go-kart. That's a missile with wheels.
I'll take that, yeah. But I think the Indy ones are going 250-ish.
Oh, yeah.
So sure. I've got some room to make up.
Sure. How low are you to the ground? I mean, this is not a real this is a few levels up from go-kart. I keep on thinking about my lawnmower engine on the back of my...
Yeah, I mean, my butt is literally 3/4 of an inch off the ground. If I hit a rock, I'm feeling it in my behind.
Wow. What's the CC of the engine? What's the horsepower?
So on the one that goes 45, it's 5.5 horsepower, and then the one that it'll do about 120 is 125 cc, just a really high revving, basically a motorcycle engine.
That's too cool. All right. Well, is there anything that you'd like to promote to our users here on the show?
Yeah. So if any of you want to start advertising on LinkedIn, but you can't afford to have someone like us, run them for you, if you go to our website, b2linked.com /checklist. You can download exactly the same onboarding checklist that we use with our clients when we onboard them. It's everything, all 8 items of this checklist. When you have these, you've got everything you need to launch. So feel free, download the checklist and take a stab at it going at it alone. And then, of course, feel free to reach out to us if you need any help after that.
Very cool. So we have it on the screen, and we'll certainly put it in the show notes as we post the show in the next day or so. We really appreciate your time today, AJ, as a wealth of knowledge inside of this very specific tactic, and it's great to be able to see specialists inside there. So to our audience, if you want to follow AJ on Twitter, Wilcox AJ on Twitter, you can be able to ping him and ask him questions regarding LinkedIn. I'm sure you're going to get a few of them as we air this. Any final words? No problem. Any final words for our digital marketing audience regarding LinkedIn ads?
I don't think so. Just go out and have fun. It's so much fun when you move from search into social because you have this control over who your audience is. So enjoy it. I mean, we've just never had this unprecedented access to people by who they are professionally. So go enjoy it and let your minds go crazy thinking about all the different ways you can use it.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, to all of our audience, thanks for listening to edgeofthewebradio.com. And a special thank you to all of our colleagues at Site Strategics, as well as our guest, especially our guest, AJ Wilcox. Be sure to check out all the must-see videos and much more of the insider information at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. We'll talk to you next week. Who are we going to be talking to next week?
We're going to continue with the LinkedIn conversation with Jason Miller. He's the head of content and social media there at LinkedIn. So,
sweet.
And was it Sophisticated Marketers Podcast, I think is what it's called. So should be a good show.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be enjoyable to unpack even more inside of the LinkedIn space. So we're doubling down on LinkedIn. Be sure to check us out next week. For all of us at Site Strategics and Edge, do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. We'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.